Since when? I think Stephen Reed was responding to the description that I put for the show, because I said that we would be talking about Rise of Skywalker buzz. And yes, I had heard that there is some. That's why I put it in the comments. It's not necessarily good buzz, but I did hear it. So maybe that's a good segue. Maybe we should just get into that, huh?
Yeah. I think that's a good way to segue right into what we're going to be talking about next. So,
yeah, this is part of our pop culture news segment. So we do try to talk about anything that's like trending or anything that's been sort of big on Twitter or just stuff that people are talking about. And there are people talking about Rise of Skywalker for sure. Like I said, the stuff that I heard hasn't been all that great. It hasn't been very good stuff that I've been hearing. I have heard things. And I apologize. I don't have the graphic ready to go. I did some prep for this show and I forgot to do that one. So, Rise of Skywalker. So, what have you been hearing, Dave, about this film?
Mostly negative. Mostly negative. I had been holding out hopes that this would end up being pretty good. I kind of felt like starting off with a new trilogy and then saying you're going to wrap up everything. I mean, my mind that doesn't. I mean, you should just wrap up your trilogy. You shouldn't sell it as we're going to wrap up everything. I mean, that's a mighty big pill to try and swallow for a series of films that have been so divisive. I mean, because right now, what I'm doing right now in my day job, I mean, I'm doing mostly graphic design and illustration work, but prior to that, I'd been doing a lot of marketing and advertising stuff, primarily in the print industry. And one of the things I would sometimes do when I would be helping develop, ad campaigns and stuff for, different companies and stuff, you're always mindful about how you want to sell something, right? How you want to sell a product, how you want to sell a service. And sometimes I always have to try and talk people off the ledge. It's like you want to sell it, but you don't want to overcommit something that you can't deliver, Sell it, get the interest, get the phone call, get the person in the store, but be mindful about, how you're presenting your message. You don't want people to feel like they've been misled, right? So I'm pretty sure the film does wrap it up. But at that same point, I just feel like that they should have focused on just wrapping up their trilogy and a nice ending instead of saying, "Oh, we're gonna wrap up everything. We're gonna wrap up the original movies. We're gonna wrap up the prequels. We're gonna wrap up everything."
What they're trying to do is move on,
right?
They want everybody to know they're moving on,
right? And I get that.
I'll get into some of this stuff, some of these reviews and things like that. So this is from Reuters. Okay, this is from Reuters, and this is a recent article. This came out today at 12:22 p.m. It says it was updated 6 hours ago. All right, it says Rise of Skywalker reviews among most critical in Star Wars galaxy. It says Walt Disney's highly anticipated Star Trek movie, The Rise of Skywalker, divided film critics on Wednesday, earning more detractors than any film of the saga since 1999 movie The Phantom Menace. So there you have it. The initial reviews are not good. So it's the 9th and final installment, and the story begun in 1977. Although I think it has nothing to do with the story that started in 1977. Actually, this is bad reporting right here. Okay. Right. It says Rise of Skywalker, which debuts in theaters around the globe on Thursday, is the 9th and final installment. A story begun in 1977 when George Lucas introduced a young space hero named Luke Skywalker alongside an enchanting collection of droids and otherworldly characters. Okay, this is not a continuation of George Lucas's story. Bob Iger has said this in his book, that George Lucas gave them a story treatment and they rejected it. This story has nothing to do with the original trilogy or the prequels, other than the fact that it has Star Wars slapped on it and they got some of the original actors to come back. I think that's just bad reporting right there. Because they should say that. They should be honest,
Well, I think what's happening here,
because this is the marketing. This is the marketing we're just talking about.
Well, see,
What
that's what.
Disney's trying to do right now is they're just trying to get rid of this. They're trying to get rid of this whole situation because it's a mess. And the
Right.
reason it's a mess is because JJ had an idea. Okay, how much his idea was developed is anybody's guess. Okay, but JJ had an idea with The Force Awakens and put us on a path. Ryan Johnson came in and said, "I don't give a crap about anything you did. I'm going to do my own thing." And then he left the saga in this weird situation because um, JJ was never supposed to come back and do the third film. He wasn't supposed to do that. They already had someone else working on the third film. Because Ryan Johnson messed the whole thing up so bad, they were like, JJ, can you come in and fix this, quote unquote? And that's what happened, you know? So there's no way you're going to fix this. It's going to be, and this is what the reviews are saying. It's like incoherent nonsense because Palpatine was never even hinted at in The Force Awakens or The Last Jedi. There was not even a hint that he might still be alive or doing anything. You know, there was nothing.
Right.
They just pulled this out of their butt because they said, "Hey, you know, people like Palpatine, right? I guess, you know." I mean, I don't know. I never thought Palpatine was that great, to be honest with you. I mean, I thought he served a narrative purpose. It wasn't like I was really all that interested in the character. I was more interested in Anakin and Darth Vader. You know, that was kind of my fandom. I don't know, I'm
Right.
weird like that. I like Darth Vader. But, you know, go figure. You know, but that's because I actually like Star Wars as opposed to whatever this is. This isn't Star Wars. You know, it's this mess that they stuck the Star Wars brand onto when they bought the name. You know, but the article goes on the Rotten Tomatoes website. Of course, this is old, but it says on the Rotten Tomatoes website, 57% of 157 reviews. So that's a lot of reviews, and these are official reviews. There's no audience meter yet on as of when I'm looking at this. There hasn't been any audience reviews on Rotten Tomatoes. It hasn't trended yet. So this is all the official people. You know, I don't even know how you become official on Rotten Tomatoes, but anyway, of 157 reviews. So 57% are positive, according to their. Kind of funny because if you look at some of these reviews, if you really get into them, you're like, okay, this is considered positive. This isn't a very positive review, you know. So
Right.
I don't know what Rotten Tomatoes metric is to decide that. I don't know if they go by people using a letter or a star system or whatever. Because it's funny, I'm going to show you something, a particular reviewer and what he said, and then what he said in the past. And he uses a grading scale like A, B, C, D, you know. But like they're saying that these are, basically saying that of 157 reviews, 57% are positive. That's very, very, very low for a Star Wars film. Okay, so that ranked as the second lowest score among the 9 films, ahead of only the 53% for The Phantom Menace. That's the most panned of the Star Wars films currently is The Phantom Menace, of the saga films. So that's where they're at right now, at least as of a few hours ago. So looking good on the critic front. Now, I'm not a big critic guy. There are basically no professional critics that I really like or support anymore ever since Roger Ebert died. He was probably the last one that I had any respect for, and I actually read his articles and actually like looking forward to his reviews. Most of the people today, I think, are shills, quite frankly, because their companies are owned by massive corporate conglomerates, and that seems to be the way you get into Rotten Tomatoes, because to me, a lot of the YouTubers and people like that are much more legitimate than the guys that are official on Rotten Tomatoes. But even among them, apparently there is a lot of unhappiness. A lot of them are very critical of the film and are not into it. And I did want to get into a specific reviewer because I actually looked into his history, and a lot of people are talking about his specific reviews.
And I was just going to mention, I've seen all kinds of reviewers kind of just really not having much of anything nice to say about the film at all. I think the one that I was kind of surprised, I mean, I wasn't surprised at was Forbes. Forbes had a review they posted earlier today, and they trashed They trashed the movie. Now, I'm not happy that
I
the
saw that.
film is. Yeah, I'm not happy that the film may be bad. I want the film to be good. If we're going to say this is the conclusion, I'd like a good conclusion. But it
But
doesn't
it's
look
not
very
the
good.
conclusion, Dave. That's my point. It's not George Lucas's vision. This is just corporate, money grabbing. It's
No,
not
I
his
know.
vision.
I'm just saying,
It's
but
not even the spirit. It's not even the spirit of what Lucas wanted. You know what I mean? It's.
right.
Did you realize he didn't go to the premiere?
No, I didn't know that he didn't go to the premiere.
That's being reported on now as well. He didn't go to the premiere, and my big question is because a lot of people that I think are biased are saying he wasn't invited, and I don't know if that's true or not. But if he wasn't invited, that really shows you the depth of how low Disney has gone. If they didn't even invite George Lucas, Steven Spielberg was invited, by the way. Why wouldn't they invite George Lucas? I don't know if that's true or not. I just know he didn't go, and I want to know why. And I think fans deserve to know why wasn't George Lucas at the party. The man who created it all, he's still alive. He's still active. We've seen pictures of him on the set of The Mandalorian. I don't understand that. But you mentioned the Forbes article. I've seen some of that, and a lot of people have been commenting on it. But a lot of people are also commenting on Collider. Collider tends to be pretty friendly towards Disney. And the headline right here, you can see it. It says, Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. What a piece of junk. This is from Collider. This is from Matt Goldberg. And he is pretty, he hated this movie. He hated it.
Right.
He gives it I won't go through his entire review. He does have some spoilers in his review, by the way, for people that are anti-spoilers and stuff. They're light spoilers. You can pretty much figure it out from, trailers and things like that. He doesn't really get into the whole thing, but he gives it a D+. D+. And this is from Collider. These are the kind of people that are like handpicked by Disney to go review these things. And he gave it a D+. Now, he has reviewed other Star Wars films. And I had some of those queued up. For instance, he did review Solo, the Solo film.
Right.
The Solo Star Wars. And he actually gave that one a C, which I think is a decent metric of where he's at. He gave The Force Awakens a B. He also gave Rogue One a B. And he gave, if I recall correctly, he gave The Last Jedi like a B+. So that was actually his favorite. So that doesn't get him points with me. But I did want to be fair, and he did give Solo a pretty negative review. He gave it a middling review. And I read some of his previous articles, and he talked about Awakens was very derivative and very much seemed like it was just a remake of the original Star Wars film, which is one of my big criticisms of The Force Awakens. He still ended up giving it a B, that's one of the things I was mentioning before is like, with the metric that Rotten Tomatoes uses, who knows how it actually works, because you sometimes read these reviews. If you actually get into the meat of the review, it's not a very good review, but they'll give it like sort of a decent rating on their little scale. And I can't help but wonder how Rotten Tomatoes figures that out. Like, it's like, this is a pretty negative review, but you ended up giving it a decent letter, But with all that said, he gave The Rise of Skywalker a D+. And that's he is a person that really enjoyed The Last Jedi, but like I said, he also didn't like Solo. So for me, that gives him some credibility, even if I absolutely despise The Last Jedi. The fact that he didn't really like Solo gives him a little bit of credibility to me. I will say that one of the angles that people don't seem to be going at this with is, well, you know, if you didn't like The Last Jedi and someone who did like The Last Jedi doesn't like this film, maybe it's decent. I don't know. But what I'm sort of hearing, and a lot of these people are saying, is that the issue really comes down to, it seems like they kind of decided to try to please everyone, and they're not pleasing anyone.
Right.
That's what I'm hearing. That's the big buzz that I'm hearing, is that they, you know, JJ tried to use everything in his little, you know, his little thief handbook that he has on how to steal great stories and destroy great franchises. And he came up with every little trick he could, and it's very obvious his tricks are in there, but he's not fooling anybody. There are people that like it. There are good reviews out there. But overwhelmingly, it seems like people are disappointed. And the funny thing is that it seems like both sides are disappointed. Like, your people that really like the new films are upset, and the people that hated the new films are going to be upset. It just seems like, again, my take from it, what I'm hearing, is that it's a film that's trying to please everybody and is pleasing nobody.
Right. Yeah, and that would kind of go along with what I have been kind of reading and seeing too. It's the same idea. I think they're trying to shore up their base. They're trying to find a way to shore up their base. But at the same point too, like you said, they're trying to very much advertise that this is our exit strategy. We are off of trying to tell this narrative that's been going on, you know, I know it doesn't connect, but you understand what I'm saying. They're trying to say that we are done with this iteration of Star Wars, so that anything we do moving forward is just ours. You know, it's interesting. Let me